give it like a couple of minutes for everybody to join. We have a big list of attendees today and from all over the group. And we have a great lineup of speakers and panelists. And most of all, we have also a wonderful use case to discuss. Thank you very much, and let us start right away. The agenda will be very simple. I'll take you on behalf of Pegasus team on our value proposition and how we helped for sale and the case study. Then Ibrahim will take you through the full success story from the data challenges, pain relieved gains that we have acquired through the past period, and most of all, the business impact. Once this is done, we'll go quickly through the whole platforms, Fivetran, Snowflake, and Looker, respectively, showing the value proposition and how their value proposition enabled this. Then we are left with a big chunk of time, which is for the Q&A and audience speakers and panel discussion. So at that given point of time, you definitely need to ask, and we'll be able to answer most of the questions directly. If not, then we'll answer it in the chat itself. I'm Ahmed Rifai. I'm a data analytics and operational consultant. I'm representing Pegasus today, and this is Pegasus basically. We are a business consultancy. We help you through the business part, and then we add the digital layer at the end just to make sure that we get the whole enabling and empowering to your business through different analytics and operational excellence methodology. We've been in the market for the past 5 years. We actually act as a bridge between the technical field know-how and the analytics and digital transformation tools with the companies themselves. We do this through the 3 pillars that we have, which is a consultation part, the data analytics integration, and the operational excellence. All of these makes you either save money or make money in your process with the work that we do. One of the biggest challenges most of the companies have is basically there's a big data analytics landscape from tools perspectives, buy or do it yourself. We help you with that. We got you covered because basically once we understand your use case, once we understand what you're looking forward to, we help you with this one, and we go forward and we build the data stack for you just to take your use case and try it out. It's very simple. We define then and now, and then we choose the platform. We have from leadership and management team. We start with the basic standards, POCs, documentation, and building how it works, and then we achieve the result and celebrating it. Then we take the momentum forward with other bigger processes, use cases, and so on and so forth. How we do it is very simple. We follow the 6 Sigma methodology, which is define, measure, analyze, improve, and control and sustain. And we start with your process. We understand the process very well. We see the gaps. We see where is the value that generated in each and every single process itself. We understand the key drivers, KPI that you have, how they mesh together, and then we leave you with a standardization layer, which is sometimes being a dashboard, workflow, and so on and so forth, just to make sure that you have the control and sustain part in your business. Earlier on, most of the companies have been doing this, and actually lots of companies up until this moment are doing that. Most of the percentage of the time of the analyst is invested into the integration part. It goes to less to the reporting, and then you are left with a very, very little time to do your analysis. Nevertheless, this is not the value proposition that you are working on. Most of the value proposition lies in the analysis part. What we do with the help of the great platforms that we work with is actually we reverse the whole pyramid. The integration is becoming very easy. You do it in few hours or even few seconds if you want, depending on your use case. We go to the reporting part, which is here almost the same, but we are left with the 60% for the analysis. And this is a percentage of time that you are looking forward to. And this is where actually you build more business value and so on. All the companies have different data sources. And based on that data sources, we can do integration using an ESB or other tools. We go through the ETL or ELT or the data preparation until we get the aggregation and data loading. Then we go into the centralization part and creating the data marts from the multiple sources that you have. And most of all, You can build this with other sources, which will be demonstrated soon during the presentation. Then we go to the last part, which is the data actions and the business intelligence part. You understand your product, you understand your customer, and get your reports, alerts, and so on and so forth. There are lots and lots of BI use cases that you can work on, and you can build a huge impact for your business building multiple use cases. What we usually do, we don't touch your data sources. Maybe we can help you choosing the right one, but actually we prefer just to keep your data sources as it is. In some cases, we definitely help with that. We work with these wonderful companies for the ETL. Nevertheless, we have some use cases with the other tools. We work with Snowflake and the data warehousing and data platforms. And nevertheless, we also work with others. And these are the wonderful companies that we work with in the data modeling, BI, and so on. Nevertheless, we also have some other use cases with this one. Being in consultation business, we always focus on the best of use cases just to empower your workflow and data usage efficiently. We had multiple use cases with this data, Fivetran, Snowflake, and Looker, and we are today presenting one of them. And this stack is actually, I think it helps a lot because we can easily do a POC. It's very fast. We are 100% sure that the result can come as much fast as possible and will help. So how did we do it with the for sale? It's very simple. The step zero is full-fledged system solution or architecture by Pegasus. We started with ensuring that the ETL process is automated with adjustable schemas, centralization with Snowflake. We went into customer behavior with Amplitude, and then we went into the data analytics and data action with Looker. You can find in all of the cases that we have here there are lots of pains, there are gains that was created, but I'll leave you with Ibrahim to take you through all of this. Thank you very much for joining. Ibrahim, the mic is yours.
Thank you, Ahmed, for the introduction. Let me share my screen. Okay. Thank you for the introduction, Ahmed. I'm going to walk you guys through a little bit about for sale and what our journey was to get to where we are today. First, some brief info about what for sale is. We are Kuwait's leading marketplace, classified marketplace. Basically, anyone in Kuwait that wants to buy or sell any used or new goods or services, for the most part, comes to our platform. We serve about 1 in 4 people in Kuwait throughout the course of a month, and about 75% of the population throughout the course of the year. Because we have such a big impact in the country, we also collect a ton of data. So we are collecting roughly 500 million records of different data points per month. Going through about 20 million requests on our servers daily. And the whole idea here is, what do we do with all this data? It's really valuable to have, but if it's just there sitting there idly, then it has no purpose. So first, let me walk you through about why data is so important for us. We use data to serve our product and our customers alike. So, we want every single person or organization to be thinking about data. We want to be a data-centric organization where, the marketeer, the product manager, the executive, they're all thinking about data. Everything has to be backed by data, and everything has to have data evidence in it. So when we build our product roadmap, we don't just say, hey, this feature looks good. We look at the trends that we see in our data, and we start to build our features based on that. When we release product features, we don't just say it's done and we move on. We actually go and collect behavioral analytics and usage analytics and transactional analytics, and we analyze and we see if things are working or not. We like to be adventurous in what we do. We like to venture into the unknown, and part of that is experimentation. So we experiment, we collect data, we test, we analyze this data, and then we adapt. And sometimes, we have to be brave enough to say, hey, it didn't work, so we just roll back the feature that we did. And it's all part of the process of improvement, and it's just a whole repetition of this process. We also like our customers themselves to be data centric. So, we actually, the same data that we have and are able to see, we want to be able to provide that to our customers, because they need to know that what they're, when they pay money to go on our platform, it's actually effective. And we back that up with data. So everything has to be backed by data, and the evidence is data. Finally, it's not just about analysis and making the right decisions. For us, it's also about building AI and machine learning systems. So, we part of our goal is, as a customer-centric company, is to try to recommend things for customers. And in order to do that, you have to build the right models, which also rely on a lot of big data. From a marketing perspective, we need to be able to figure out how we can segment our customers, because we want to personalize every single message we have to the various different customers. When we do marketing campaigns, are the marketing campaigns effective? Are we acquiring customers or not? Are we reaching our goals? What channels are the right channels to use, and what channels are more effective with which kinds of customers? From a commercial perspective, how do we price our products? What gets priced better than, higher than what? These sort of decisions aren't made in the ether. They're made with a lot of data and a lot of analysis in play. Do we make seasonal pricing decisions based on what season we're in? How do we do sales forecasting so we know when and where to deploy our sales force? Again, everything I'm talking about are things that we strive to do, and without having the right data stack and data infrastructure, it's pretty much impossible to do. So next, I'm going to talk to you about our journey. Here's where we started. This was, a very basic architecture that I think many people will be familiar with. We had a MySQL database with a DynamoDB assisting DynamoDB next to it in place. Whenever we wanted to analyze any data, we just write up some SQL queries, run it on the MySQL production database, export it into CSVs, come up with a whole bunch of Excel files, and hope for the best when we're analyzing the data. We used to also use Redshift as our data warehouse, simply for the purpose of feeding our machine learning engine the data it requires, and some third-party tools such as Google Analytics and Amplitude. Amplitude, for those of you that don't know, is a behavior analytics app platform that, as an SDK, we put it in our apps. So with this approach, what we found is, it's such a bottleneck approach. We have very fast scaling data from 400 to 500 million records of data points coming to us every single month. And if we're analyzing those in Excel sheets, it just doesn't work. That's the first issue. The second issue we had is reliance on our data engineers. If every single person, and we're encouraging every single person in our organization to be data centric, then they all want to build and work with data in mind. So when the marketeer or the product manager comes and asks for data, it was always a request made to the data team. The data team then go and build queries, and because it's a production environment, we sometimes have to run these really heavy queries at night. And it just wasn't, sustainable, because, these guys were just sitting there. All they were doing is building queries to serve the organization when there was much better ways to do it. And finally, because we're using tools that weren't meant for that, sometimes, these queries were super slow and would just take too long to do. So what happened next was, I had the pleasure of meeting Ahmad about just over a year ago. And they really helped us at Pegasus to expand our horizons with what we could do. Ahmad really helped articulate our data roadmap and the approaches we take of what we get before what. And they helped with our solution architecture and data stack mapping. And very importantly, with the POCs planning and how to approach the boards and your executives or your CEOs with paying money and spending some money on these great tools. They give you really good value for money, but at the end of the day, somebody has to pay for them. And there are approaches and ways by which you can actually approach your executives to request for that. So Ahmad was really helpful in all of these approaches, from the engineering approaches to the tool selection. When you start looking, there's really a vendor overload. you have a million tools that do ETLs, a million tools that do data warehousing, a million that do BI and analytics and visualizations. So Ahmed really helped down the field, and what we ended up with was really the gold standard in data, the best-in-class tools, and we've really come a long way with that. So now this is what our very simple infrastructure looks like. What we have is a MySQL engine with a DynamoDB database also next to it. And we use Fivetran to do our ETL or ELT. I will get to what that means in a second for any of you who are not familiar with this, with this terminology. We load our data from our own database using Fivetran onto Snowflake, which is our data warehouse or data platform. And then from there, we take that data and start analyzing it and visualizing it using Looker. And we also build much more efficient machine learning engines. Now we'll move on to Fivetran. Fivetran is an extract, load, transform platform. What does that mean? When you have data in a database, you need to move it to a data warehouse so that you can actually start working with it. So you extract the data from your own database, you load it onto the data warehouse, and you transform it in a way that makes queries more efficient to serve your process, to serve your purposes. Before Fivetran, we actually tried to do this manually ourselves with our own data team. We built a couple of serverless engines and some server-based ones. And what we found was it was just prohibitively expensive in terms of time. We were spending months building these tools, and they were failing often, not because of the capabilities. I mean, we have, thankfully, some great engineers, but the amount of time it took to build and maintain was just prohibitively expensive. So we had to find a solution. And this is where Fivetran came in. Fivetran helped take this load off of ourselves. And actually, we had our data team then focus on a lot of things that they needed to focus on, but they didn't previously have time to do it because they were focused on ETL and ELT. So through the automated tool that Fivetran gave us, it really helped our development time. We literally got it up and running in 5 minutes, like no less. No more than 5 minutes. It helped with the fact that we no longer had to maintain a solution that we were trying to build. And it's a company that's dedicated to this. Whatever capabilities we have, with Fivetran, of course, it's gonna be a much better dedicated tool that gives us a lot more capabilities than we would have ever dreamed of if we did it ourselves. So what does Fivetran provide? It's as I said, it's zero maintenance, zero configuration, no coding whatsoever. Within 5 minutes, we're up and running. It's a fully managed data pipeline as a service. So you literally just specify the target database, you specify the source database, and you just let it do its magic. We are only using 2 connectors with Fivetran. However, the connector is basically what connects the source with the target. However, they have 170 plus native connectors. So, we're using it for DynamoDB and MySQL. You could use it for SQL Server. You could use it for Elasticsearch, for other tools such as Google Analytics. They have tons and tons of connectors. So whatever you are working with, a source production database, I'm sure you'll find something that Fivetran can work with. And because of the normalized data and predefined schemas, we were able to do a lot of transformations without doing much work ourselves. Finally, just the fact that it's cloud-based with no maintenance was really the biggest sell point for us. Also, just as a little example of how good and effective this was for us, the first time we had tried to migrate our DynamoDB data onto our data warehouse, if I remember correctly, it was a process that I think took several weeks of just data transfer. With Fivetran, when they came in, it took really a matter of minutes. So that's been really, really helpful for us. Next, I'm going to talk about Snowflake, because Fivetran is the tool that gets us from the source to the target. Our target here is Snowflake. Snowflake is a data platform, and we use several of their features, such as the data warehouse feature. A data warehouse is really important because you don't want to be running your production environment and queries at the same time. And it's also something that is built and purpose-built to query and optimize data structures and query massive amounts of data. So with Snowflake, what we used to have at the beginning is we used to work with Redshift, and I have nothing bad to say about them, but the fact that we saw such great improvement gains with Snowflake is just, I mean, it was incredible. We literally saw 30x performance improvements in the queries. A query that used to take us 60 seconds in Redshift took us literally 2.5 seconds on Snowflake. We have some really complex queries with 10 joins, and anybody who's written SQL queries before knows that this is just something you don't want to do. With Snowflake, no matter how many joins we threw at it, it was just performing really, really well. Another big benefit for Snowflake for us was the fact that they have decoupled storage and processing. So, when we used to use Redshift, anytime we needed to scale up our instance because we're running out of space, whether we like it or not, we're also scaling up our processing power, even if we don't need it. And the same goes the other way around. If we need to scale up our processing power, even if we didn't need the space, we would be forced to scale up the space. So the fact that it's decoupled allows us, with a click of a button that literally takes just a minute or two, actually even less than that, we're able to scale up our processing power and use more powerful processors without actually having to also scale up our data storage. This decoupling makes things a lot better because we're only paying for what we want on demand, and we're getting a lot better performance. The other big feature that we were using with Snowflake as a data platform is data sharing. I mentioned before that we also use Amplitude as a behavior analytics tool. Because Amplitude is actually a Snowflake customer, what was happening was, we were simply able to request that we share our own data from Amplitude onto Snowflake, and automatically anything that happens on that platform Amplitude also gets put onto our Snowflake instance. This allows us to, without any connections or connectors or any transformations, allows us to also be able to use our data from various different sources directly on Snowflake. And that's also been really helpful because then we have our behavior analytics data that was being generated along with our transactional data that's coming from MySQL, all in the same place, so we can perform really good analytics and queries with. Another good point about the sharing that we had was the fact that it's really secure. You don't actually move or copy any data, you're referencing the data. It's you can revoke and get access at any point in time. Now, we move on to Looker. We talked about how we transformed our data from the source onto the target. We talked about how we got massive performance improvements and gains from both of these tools, previous tools, Fivetran and Snowflake. Now, what do we do with that data? Part of what we were able to achieve with Snowflake is because the queries are blazing fast, we were able to vastly improve our machine learning engine. But the other side of this equation is analysis. We need to be able to analyze our data, and this is where Looker came in. It gives you a tool to analyze everything about your data in visualizations that that really make you see trends that you previously would not have seen. It's also allowed us to democratize our data throughout our organization. Now, when somebody wants data, they no longer have to go to our data team and say, "Hey, can you run me this query because and send me that Excel file because I really need to search some queries and analyze some of my data." The entire organization is now able to go and Looker. They're able to build their own dashboards without any intervention from our data team. And this allows us all as an organization to make much better decisions based on data and based on evidence. So Looker saved a lot of problems that we had versus the previous tool. It allowed us to develop our dashboards really quickly. It provided a lot of flexibility in the queries that we could run using LookML. LookML is a proprietary Looker query language that gives you a lot of flexibility in the queries that you can run. We're able to put various disparate data from various sources and various tables into the same dashboard, because sometimes you need to see connections between different sources, and seeing it in the same place is really important. We weren't able to do that previously, but with Looker we are. We're able to drill down down to the really granular level of everything, and also up to the, the bird's eye view of everything. So you can get bird's eye views of data, and then follow that by doing, going granular and really figuring out what's happening with your data and what's happening, and analyze everything that you're going through. The model-based experience that Looker works with is actually, in programming and software development, it's a no-brainer, right? You want to build something where you can reuse your code. You don't have to rebuild every single query every time for a different dashboard. And Looker really provides that in a really intelligent way, where you can build certain models that you can use in various dashboards and various visualizations. Finally, it's a cloud-based solution, as with everything that we've talked about so far. And because it's a cloud-based solution, zero maintenance, zero headache, zero overhead. And again, most importantly, is the self-service. Without any technical knowledge, we've literally put data into the hands of every single person working in an organization. Here are some of the nice visualizations that we have with Looker. It just gives us some, the visualization on the left is literally just a bird's eye view. What verticals are performing better than what verticals? And we can do that on a time-based thing, so we can see, the trends throughout seasonal trends in Kuwait. On the top right, we have a lot of different dimensional data into one chart. How are our agents selling? And how are the salespeople selling? Who is selling more than who? What are the trends of the overall people and the group and the individual? Below that, we have comparison of some data of comparing different kinds of transactions into one chart. The bottom right chart is one I really love. We have a thing in our organization where we record every single event that happens. So if we do a pricing change, we record it. If there's a sandstorm in Kuwait, we'll record it. If COVID happens, we'll record it. So every single event is recorded, and it allows us to really map and chart, special events and their impact on our transaction or our usage. So you can see here the big dip in COVID, it just really shows you real world events and how they impact your business. So, now that I've talked about all the different tools and how we've modernized our data stack, here's, I'll give you a quick brief about what we're able to achieve now. We have data transparency. Every single person in the organization has data at their fingertips, and they're able to make the better decisions and actually able to see if what they've built and what they've worked on is effective or not. So we're able to measure KPIs against milestones. We've empowered everyone to be data driven. We've basically created a whole bunch of data analysts in our company. We've been able to see really valuable insights in ways we never would have seen with a lot less engineering staff. We have, taken a big load off our DevOps engineering team because we have no maintenance required at all. We've done vast improvements on our machine learning algorithms and engines. And at the end of the day, our purpose is to serve our customers. We are a customer-centric organization, and all of this has really helped us improve the customer experience, and in turn also improve what we have built for our customers and ourselves. Thank you, everyone, and I will hand off to Rebecca now from Fivetran.
Perfect. Thank you, Ibrahim. So can everybody see my screen okay?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Craig. So I'm Rebecca Comer, an account executive here at Fivetran, and I work with organizations across the Middle East and Africa. So allow me to introduce you to Fivetran. We provide zero maintenance, zero configuration data pipelines as a service. When it comes to data management, one of the core problems that companies face is the actual act of data centralization itself. So we have over 170 out-of-the-box connectors, which are built and managed by our engineering team. And you can see examples of some of these connectors here on the left, such as Stripe, NetSuite, and Marketo. As Fivetran automates the flow of your disparate data into a centralized data platform, such as Snowflake, you can focus your time and your resources on use cases such as data sharing or internal analytics using Looker. So a little bit about Fivetran as a company then. We have over 1,200 customers globally across many industries. So we've got e-commerce, as you know from hearing Ibrahim's story, but also we have customers in retail, financial services, technology, and healthcare. And with over 400 employees in offices around the world in the US, Europe, India, and Australia, we offer 24/7 support to our customers. And one of the most exciting things about Fivetran currently is our recent Series C funding, which is helping massively with our global expansion and support in this market. Working with our technology partners, Snowflake and Looker, we have made this data stack as simple as possible. Our approach is straightforward. So your data is pulled in from your main source systems. It's replicated into the data warehouse, where you have the option then to run SQL queries and transform the data. And from there, it's ready for analytics and business intelligence. So to break it down into a couple of easy steps. First, we replicate the data from the sources into the destination. We land it into the warehouse in a normalized schema, which is managed and kept up to date by Fivetran. Then post-load, you can transform the data and model it based on your specific business requirements. Following this method, we believe that you'll be able to get the maximum insights from all of your different sources more easily, and you'll be able to get a holistic view of your business. Some of the things that make Fivetran different are we have automatic data updates, automatic schema migration, and automatic failure recovery as well. So that's just a short introduction to Fivetran. I'll pass over to Mohammed in Snowflake now, who can talk to you about what you can actually do with the data once Fivetran has loaded it into the data platform.
Thank you, Rebecca. Good afternoon, everyone. I'll just share my screen. So, hi everyone. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Ibrahim, for this introduction on the modern data stack. I will talk briefly about Snowflake, first of all, as a company, because maybe you saw, but we are making the news since a few days now, because we announced that we will be public soon. So our IPO is coming. We were founded in 2012. Our product is GA since 2015. And in this short period of 5 years, we are already evaluated more than $12 billion and almost 20 billion for the IPO, with more than 3,000 customers in all verticals, and definitely a very strong ecosystem in the data space, with all tools of ETLs, ELTs, Fivetran, and Looker for the visualization are one of the most used tools in our ecosystem, but we support also other tools, and we are cloud agnostic. We run on AWS, Azure, and Google exactly in the same way. So again, in this short period, we are serving today more than 1 million users. We host more than 250 petabytes, and we run more than 5 million queries per day, which is really massive and huge today. So Snowflake is not just cloud data warehouse like it was in the beginning. It's a full cloud data platform. The promise of Snowflake is to accelerate the insights and the time to value from the data source to the data consumer. Consuming data can be through BI tools, visualization tools like Looker, or can be also through data science technologies or scripts like R, Python, or more complete tools like DataQ, DataRobot, etc. Snowflake is the central piece. It's built in the cloud. It's the only solution in the market built in the cloud. It runs on either Google, AWS, or Azure. And the unique architecture of Snowflake makes us the only solution that can support a lot of workloads at the same time. Brahim was mentioning with legacy solutions that they run some queries in the night, etc. Snowflake is separating all the workloads. All workloads will run with their own performance. And so you can use Snowflake as a data warehouse, as a data lake, to support data science teams, to do transformations with data engineering teams, to build applications on top of Snowflake. We have hundreds of customers today that rebuild their applications on top of Snowflake, and also to share data with others. Brahim mentioned the use case with Amplitude. In fact, today we are supporting a full connected network with our data marketplace. And we created something unique in the market that is called Data Cloud. And every Snowflake customer has access to this Data Cloud. They can seamlessly access data from any other business unit, supplier, partner, or customer, and all of this in very secure and governed and compliant way using this Snowflake feature, which is the data exchange. This is possible through a technology into Snowflake called data sharing, which means you always have the data on hand that is live, fresh, accessible, and ready to use. And this is regardless of where the data is stored. It can be stored in any cloud. You can access it through this data sharing feature. And we have growing list of companies like Salesforce, like S&P, like FactSet, etc., and others, Amplitude, that were mentioned, that are making their data available in this data marketplace because they have seen that this is really a superior way to connect organization with their data. So to finish my short introduction, short presentation, we are the fastest growing company ever in the software space and in the SaaS space. And this was definitely measured by Forrester last August, so 1 month ago, with a new document on the total economic impact of Snowflake Cloud Data Platform within our customers. And you have here the numbers, and you can just type Forrester ROI Snowflake on Google, and you have the full study. We prove every day at customers in different verticals, different sizes, that we have huge ROI when we use Snowflake at the heart of your data chain. So with this, I will hand it over to Looker. Craig, the floor is yours.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Mohammed. So guys, very nice to speak to you all here today. I suppose just to quickly introduce myself first off. So my name is Craig, and I'm one of the account executives here at Looker. I can gladly say I actually had the pleasure of working directly with Ibrahim and the Pegasus team during their proof of concept and helping them bring Looker into a production environment. So I suppose to start off, like as we've kind of heard from everyone else, you know, tools like Fivetran and Snowflake have really been a game changer in the analytics space. If we look historically at some older tools, they were quite slow. I know Abraham kind of touched on Redshift and some of the speeds there, and they were expensive and weren't really easy to manage. But tools like obviously like Snowflake and Fivetran have really changed the game. And now these analytical tools are now much faster, really quick to run you know, really complex queries, and they're fully built from the cloud. However, the problem was that analytics tools hadn't really adapted to this change. I don't know how familiar people are with different analytics tools out there, but a lot of them are built on the concept of actually taking the data out of the database and pulling that either into some sort of workbook or into a server that's controlled by that BI tool. So what this actually kind of causes is twofold problems. So the first is what we see as being a bottleneck. So this is when, you know, by taking that data out, you're really restricted on what you can see. So anytime there's an additional question or anyone needs to know anything else, it actually normally involves going back to the data team, who then go rerun that query or get a new extracted data and answer that question for you. And that's obviously frustrating, and it generally leads to this second issue, which is what we see as being data chaos. And that's when people kind of get sick of waiting for data and try and get it themselves. But the problem is all the hard work your data team have done at defining everything at a database level actually goes out the window because people are using data sources that aren't running through the central data warehouse. And once data is misdefined and people stop trusting data, people stop using data to do their job. So I suppose that's fundamentally what Looker was trying to solve. We are in one sentence, our pitch is we enable secure access to near real-time data when and where you need it. And we do that through a few different ways. So because everything in Looker runs through one single data model, this means that every single piece of analysis, every single dashboard, every single report can absolutely be trusted because the metrics are all controlled centrally and controlled by the data team. What's quite cool though is that Looker is actually a lot more than just a dashboarding tool. We really believe in delivering data to when and where you need it. So we have customers who actually set up alerts based off KPIs. So for instance, some of the stuff Ibrahim was showing, it's absolutely possible for him to set up an alert if their number of daily active users drops or an AdWords campaign doesn't actually tend to perform that well. And this really makes company-wide use of Looker absolutely possible. There's unlimited use cases we can roll out to. So I suppose just to touch a bit more on the architecture. So everything Looker delivers is made possible by tools like Fivetran and Snowflake. And we're fully built to leverage these tools. So essentially Looker just sits directly on top of Snowflake and we query that directly. So you have all of your data sitting centrally and Looker leverages that. So I suppose to touch on some of the different use cases, we made a lot of headway, I think, myself and Ibrahim and the Pegasus team, kind of building out best-in-class business intelligence and analytics. But there is, of course, additional use cases Looker can be used for. So the integrated insights piece we're showing here, we actually have one customer who's built out Looker to automatically alert based on performance of accounts. So they're a SaaS company, and if that starts to dip, their account management team automatically get emails and allows them to kind of quickly and proactively deal with that without actually having to look at dashboards. But I suppose for me anyway, the most interesting area with Looker is actually using Looker as a platform to build. So it's one use case Looker does particularly well in. We got a lot of customers who actually take Looker and use it as the interface to provide data back to their customers. And hopefully it's something the for sale team look at soon. But I suppose to finish up on the Looker side of things, I know I've kind of talked through Looker at a high level, but I always like to finish off with what's the impact of this. So I think Ibrahim put it perfectly when he mentioned that Looker kind of helps to democratize data and allow data transparency across the organization. Essentially what we allow is for people to ask additional questions of the data independent of the data team. And this graph here captures it lovely. So as we can see, Get Your Guide, who's one of our accounts in Germany, they used to suffer with quite a high volume of ad hoc requests going to their data team. When they implemented Looker, this just dropped dramatically, and they actually managed to go through quite a great growth period at this time as well. So they actually tripled their size over a 2-year period. But the key, I suppose, takeaway from Looker was that their data team, they didn't need to grow their data team to manage this. They didn't need to keep hiring additional developers or people who are familiar with data. They were able to keep this very, very low as they went through this growth period. And I suppose if I could leave you all with one takeaway with Looker, and it's unencumbered access to data without having to invest significant resources in managing your data. So that's it from me. I'm going to hand back over to Ahmed to just open up the Q&A.
Thank you very much, Craig. Thank you very much, Ibrahim, Muhammad, Craig, and Rebecca. That was a really not just simple presentation, but actually it's what we are looking forward to, having the use case and so on. I'll leave it now for the Q&A session, and attendees, if you want to have any questions, please go into the Q&A area, write your comments, and we are all here to entertain your questions. Nevertheless, I don't want you to forget about one thing here, which is basically, if you have seen this one, since you are attending our event, you can claim your 1-hour free consultation and business case discussion with Pegasus team, Snowflake, and Looker, and Fivetran. So we will be able to answer your questions if you have a business case. It's a commitment-free one. We'll just tell you how you can go forward with that and how you can build on your e-commerce platform in an easier way and faster way, and so on and so forth. So make sure just to visit this page or email us on this one, and we will be in touch with you just to help you in your coming steps during the coming period. That's it. And I think we have like a couple of good questions that we can take forward. And I think the first question goes to Ibrahim here. Ibrahim, if you can kindly answer, I think you probed on it and your presentation, but how much time did it take just to make sure that you get the value out of these platforms? We know that other platforms, whenever you're working with, can take like 3 to 4 months just to start even seeing very small action or seeing small value from them. But if you can just say, because if you work with Snowflake, Fivetran, and Looker, how much did it take you?
So let me go through each tool one by one. With Fivetran, literally it was under a day. I mean, we changed the connector, pressed the button. It was just really a matter of which button do you press, you know? So it was really, if you know what you're doing, it's a matter of minutes. It really took us under a day with Fivetran. Regarding Snowflake, you know, again, you load your data and you get access to it, and it's pretty easy because you're writing queries that you already know, and you already know the language in which to write in. So again, it was super quick, a matter of also a day or so. With Looker actually we had a very interesting case. Craig and I and Ahmed worked together on, which is we started working with Looker in the middle of COVID. So getting anyone to pay for anything during that time was just really difficult. And we worked together on the POC for about maybe a week or so. Getting Looker up and running is, again, also something that happened in just a matter of a day or so. But actually building the first dashboard and proving, doing a POC, we built something with Craig and Ahmed, where maybe it took us about a week to build an executive dashboard, a business pulse basically, that has 30 different metrics and charts and analysis that basically show the pulse of the business. And that's, something that big would have literally taken us months before. So, in terms of time, it's much faster than you think, than you can imagine, honestly. And it's, the performance gains from the time we've saved were quite incredible.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim. Maybe the second question I'll ask for Fivetran and Rebecca here. Do you support any other BI and warehousing tools?
Yeah, definitely. So while we work very closely with Looker and Snowflake, there's a number of different tools that we work with out there as well. We're partnered with Google and Amazon, so for Redshift and BigQuery, and BI tools as well. Like you can connect up any tool really, like Tableau or Google Data Studio as well.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. And my question to Muhammad. Muhammad, you mentioned something about Snowflake Data Marketplace. Can you elaborate a little bit on it?
Yeah, exactly. So Ibrahim talked about how they share data from Amplitude. In fact, this data sharing piece is the technology that supports sharing data between our customers. But we had this technology since day one. We saw a lot of interest within our customer bases, and they were requesting like a marketplace to make this data available for others and to make it public and to make all prospects and all companies around the world aware about the availability of these data sets. So we launched early this year what we call the Snowflake Data Marketplace. So as a Snowflake customer, you can go to in the Snowflake interface and request data sets from different providers. So the example here was Amplitude, but in every single vertical, we have a lot of providers. We have more than 150 providers today in only 6 months of launch of the marketplace, and it's growing every day. The idea behind this, to complete my answer, is that today, to have more insights, you need to join external data and internal data. So any single external factor can, I would say today, give you more insights on your work. And we saw this in the COVID-19 period. We launched a data set on COVID-19 with real-time data, and we had more than 2,000 companies requesting it in a few days in order to query jointly their data with this COVID-19 dataset to see the impact of the COVID-19 and also to prepare the recovery period. So very important to cross data from external factors and your internal data.
Thank you very much, Muhammad. And then I have a question here. It's for Looker. One of the amazing things that Looker is doing is actually you build on one dashboard, and because of the roles, responsibilities, and department and matrix, people will just see what they have and what they own. Can you elaborate a little bit on how this makes everything easy for the individuals and also save time from a development standpoint, Greg?
Yes, of course. Yeah. So I suppose I'll answer this twofold. So one thing I suppose Looker does really well is user permissioning. So this is important, I suppose, both for internal use of Looker and for external use. So defining who has access to what data roles. So this is why I suppose Looker is such a good fit for external facing use cases. It's very easy to set permissions and make sure customers don't see data that doesn't belong to them. But I suppose to touch more on maybe the LookML piece, it really is. I suppose it's the value of being able to define all those definitions centrally, and then open them up to the wider audience within your company. It really allows people to ask their own questions of the data themselves. So I hope that answers your question, Ahmed. Sorry you cut out a little bit.
No, thank you very much. And I think if you can elaborate a little bit on the embedded part, because I think this goes along with this one.
Yes, of course. So this is it's a really up and coming use case for us here at Looker. So I think the number as it stands today is 43% of all of Looker's customers actually take Looker and embed it externally to build data products to either sell back to their customers or just to increase the value of their platforms. So I don't know if people on the call are familiar with Wix, but Wix recently actually started using Looker to provide reporting to all of their customers.
So we have a question here which is probably mostly related to all the platforms. So I'll leave you guys to answer it. But basically, it's related to security. How can we ensure that all the platforms are secured and so on? Maybe we can give like an example on who are the customers who's in a highly secured area and how we can make that. I think maybe we can start with Fivetran first, and then we go through Looker and Snowflake.
Yeah, so security with Fivetran is something that we definitely take very, very seriously. At Fivetran, we don't actually store your data at all, and we're simply delivering it from the source into the destination, such as Snowflake. While the data is in motion, it's fully encrypted both while in transit and at rest.
Thank you, Rebecca. Craig, can you answer the security around Looker?
Yes, of course. So similar to Fivetran, Looker doesn't actually store any data. Looker, I suppose, is more of a layer that just visualizes the results that are coming from the SQL query that's hitting your data warehouse. So from that standpoint, we don't actually store any data. But one thing that's, I suppose, very important for Looker is that we have very, very robust user permissioning. So anyone who doesn't have permission to see a certain segment of data that sits within your data warehouse cannot get access to that data through Looker. And that's one of the reasons why I suppose we're such a fit for these embedded use cases. We can also integrate with existing authentication servers you have in place. So it's not a workload to go and manage this in Looker and your existing authentication server. It can actually just be managed in one place, and Looker just inherits that logic. So I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Greg. Muhammad?
Yes. So Snowflake, in fact, first of all, store all the data in an encrypted way. Everything is encrypted, 100%. And then we have a full security at all levels, at the authentication level, at execution level, etc. We are dealing with data in the cloud. So the solution was designed in a very secure way from the beginning. The first employee in Snowflake was the chief security officer after the founders. And of course, if needed, we can have a full presentation on how we treat security in Snowflake, with also the certifications needed in the different markets, in the financial market, in the health market, etc.
Thank you very much, Mohammed. So there's a question here about the pricing and everything. So allow me to answer this one. One of the good things that Pegasus team does is basically we work with these platform and we do most of the work here locally. Definitely we integrate with the team from the other countries, but the good thing is definitely we can work with startups, scaling companies, SMEs, and even enterprise. And you might have seen it in the list of companies that we are working with, quite diversified, wonderful companies in different verticals and in different industries. So this part we definitely can tweak for the region and for different sizes of the companies. I think just because we have like 1 minute, allow me to share one very quick thing here, which is basically the list of customers, some of the list of the customers. And I think maybe if you want, you can mention some of the companies we are working with in the Middle East. So you can find quite diversified customers in different areas and different fields, ranging between startups and big locals and international and global ones. So maybe if the team here want to mention an extra one, I think I already shown ours, but Luker, if you want to mention some of the other local ones and startups, just to ensure that we can mention a couple of more other than the ones on the screen.
Yes, of course. And I suppose the main one I really wanted to mention, you already have them on your slides here, but that's TPay. So I work quite closely with the account team there at TPay as well.
Good. Rebecca? I think Rebecca's back. But Mohammed, do you have some customers in the region that you can mention for us other than the ones available on the screen?
Yeah, of course. If we talk globally, Middle East and Africa, we have big names like Amar, like Emirates, Property Finder, of course, TPay Mobile that were mentioned by Luker, for sale for today, etc. So we have a good list of nice names in the region also.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I think with that, we can conclude our time and we will send the answer to the questions for the individuals who had it earlier. Thank you very much, and we really look forward to seeing you in our up next webinars. Please don't forget, just if you want to email us and send us, and we will be answering your questions shortly. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Ibrahim, Muhammad, Craig, and Rebecca. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for all the attendees for joining, and see you real soon.